I found out about this story when I was reading through the comments section, and it was under a video that I recently did about the man who attacked DeAndre Harris, who now got found guilty for assault and is now being sent to prison for 10 years, hopefully. And a troll had, well, a couple of them did, entered my comment section, and one of my subscribers, I believe it was Black Magic, who left a comment and then left this link. This article is coming from the Arizona on I can't read Arizona Sonora News. I was trying to read the actual website. You know, when it's all together like that, sometimes it's hard to read. But it's coming from the Arizona Sonora News. And this article was written on April 11th, 2018, almost a month ago. And it's no surprise that it doesn't have any comments. Because look at the title. It says, "The Epidemic of White Male Suicide." So I said, you know what? I have time. Let me browse to see what this is all about. It says 19,392 suicides are by firearm. 11,078 are by homicide. Let's discuss that. It says that 11,078 number right there. These are the same people that love to peddle that black on black crime bullshit with us, or that 13% of the population, 50% of the crime. If they are so holier than thou, so supreme, so much better than everybody else, then why in the hell are their numbers even that high? Some might say that's not high, but for them we'll just say that it is. Their numbers should not be high at all. Although I think that number might actually be a little bit or significantly higher, but we'll just go with what they put on there. And I was watching something yesterday, and somebody made a good point. They said they love to bring up black on black crime, but they act like white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime or Hispanic on Hispanic crime does not exist. As if proximity crime is only limited to black people. When it's not. When it's definitely not. When you think about all them school shootings that have happened, most of those victims, for the most part, were white students. When you think of all these other incidents that have been happening as of late, mostly, mostly white people. The last time it was multiple victims in a black shooting was at that Waffle House, unfortunately. But let's continue. White men are killing themselves more than any other race. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 60% of all suicides are firearm related, and 80% of firearm related suicides are by white males. These men are older, uneducated, because you know they love to say they're so smart and have a high IQ, and from an impoverished socioeconomic background. Roughly in 4 in 10 gun owners, 38%, says there is a gun that is both loaded and easily accessible to them all the time when they're at home. Men are especially likely to have a loaded gun at the ready, wrote Kim Parker, Director of Social Trends and Research at the Pew Research Center in a study. That doesn't surprise me. It says they are ready, have a loaded gun at the ready. That shows you right there that that's what they go for first when they come into a confrontation. According to sociologists, the general populace remains focused on the tragedies of gun violence related to school shootings, gang violence, and homicides, but unknowingly ignore the biggest offender of firearm-related deaths, suicide. Low levels of household income, $20,000 or less, are associated with lifetime mental disorders and suicide attempts, the Department of Psychiatry at the University of Manitoba, Canada, reported in a 2011 population-based longitudinal study on the relationship between household income and mental disorders. The recent global economic recession has promoted increasing concern about the impact of decreasing income as a risk factor for mental disorders and suicidal behavior. Parker wrote, Americans see many factors as playing a role in gun violence in the country today. 86% say the ease with which people can illegally obtain guns contributes to gun violence a great deal or a fair amount. More than half say the same about family instability, 74%, and lack of economic opportunities, 65%. The less a person makes, the more likely they are going to kill themselves, especially white males. According to sociologists, the reason white men are killing themselves is not because of guns, but the white oppression complex. Wow, this article is actually laying down some things that I have heard before come out of the mouths, well, maybe not out of their mouths, but on social media, when they talk about, oh, we are being oppressed and white genocide. They love to peddle that white genocide around. And also shout out to Lisa Kabir, because she cracks me up when she does those Deaths of Despair videos. I laugh just at the title alone, Deaths of Despair. This basically is lining right up with stories that she does. Mitch, and the thing is, that white oppression complex, that's some shit that they made up. It's all in their head because they want to join the oppression bandwagon. Merch Berbrier, a sociologist and professor of sociology at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, worked to explain white male discontent in a 2014 article in the journal Society for the Study of Social Problems. It's the feeling that if whites express pride in their heritage, they are branded as racist and bigots. Tim Wise, an anti-racist activist and writer who has spoken... Hold on, before I even go any further than that. He said, it's the feeling that if white males express pride in their heritage, they are... That's the thing. Their heritage is breeded in hatred for other groups of people, especially black people. That's why they are branded as racist and bigots. Look at what happened in Charlottesville. That's them taking pride in their so-called heritage. Look at what just happened in Georgia when they had that neo-Nazi rally and when they were burning those big-ass swastikas. Their pride and heritage is rooted and ingrained in hatred for other groups of people, and especially black people. That's why they will be branded as racist and bigots. It's not that hard to figure out. But they act like they're so naive and don't see it, when they clearly do, and we do as well. Tim Wise, an anti-racist activist and writer who has spoken at more than 600 universities across the country since the mid-1990s, said, when you've had the luxury of presuming yourself to be the norm, the prototype of an American, any change in the demographic and cultural realities in your society will strike you as outsized attacks on your status. Now, why I side-eye Tim Wise on a few things, I have to agree with him on that quote. That's why they are that's why they're feeling the sting right now, because people are going against their narrative that they had, their blueprint that they have mapped out for everybody. It's almost like when you are a teacher and you already have your lesson plan laid out for what your students are going to do. You have it, you make them do it, and then they leave, go to the next class, same thing over and over again. It's like like I said, they laid out a blueprint of how they want life for people in this establishment to be, whether they are white or otherwise. But see, the thing is, they'll cut corners for other white people. Not too many, but they'll cut some. But when it comes to everybody else, especially our black asses, you can forget it. On top of that, 3% of the population owns half of the guns in our country, and a majority of that 3% are white men. The fetishization of firearms is specific to white males and appears to be a way for them to assert their masculinity. And when that doesn't help, they turn them on themselves. Max Samis, press secretary for the Brady Campaign to Prevent Gun Violence, says his organization is trying to cut gun deaths in half by 2025. The reason people own guns vary, but it's mainly for protection. These people fear something and feel the need to have guns. The reality is most people who use firearms on themselves instead of an intruder. According to the sociologist, white uneducated men of impoverished socioeconomic backgrounds want to protect their homes and families even if they have to by force. Their fear of losing their masculinity and having their racist image of the prototype American challenge leads them to despair. There goes that word again. There goes that word. So basically, it all leads back, and my subscribers can attest to this, to them holding onto that gun as a form of their masculinity. And that without it, they are nothing. That's why they fight so hard against gun control. At least that's one of the main reasons. The gun becomes their sacred object. Gun control for these owners has become to represent an attack on their masculinity, independence, and moral identity. Well, that was very interesting. So basically, all in all, pretty much that gun has become and has been a tool for white males in their masculinity. Now, we have heard some people talk about fragile masculinity. That's the definition of that. That's the perfect definition of it. And that also will let you know why these white male cops love to grab their guns so fast and shoot them, because that goes right into that narrative. Could you imagine if we was like, I believe it's England, where their police officers don't have guns, and they actually have to subdue their assailants with their hands? Could you imagine if they had that over here? They would lose their minds. And not only would the cops lose their mind, but that whole Blue Lives Matter crew would as well. Because they feel that they should have their guns and everything like that. And they only say that because it's mostly us that they're targeting. If you was to turn it on its head and they started going after them, their whole tune would change. And I'm willing to bet that a couple of laws would get changed as well. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.